Making your own topwater bass poppers are fun and easy to do, and they do not cost very much. Start out by purchasing a dowel rod, 36 inches or 48 inches. I prefer the China hardwood over the oak, as this carves a little easier. In one dowel rod, you should be able to make anywhere from 12 to 16 poppers, plenty for a season and to try different colors with. To start, cut your dowel rods into 2 7/8 inch sections, or 3-inch sections, whatever you prefer. From there, we're going to place a nickel on top of our dowel rod. We're then going to trace around this nickel, giving us a pattern for the front of our popper. This is what the top of the popper looks like once we've traced around the circle. Now we're going to trace the tail part of the popper, which is about the size of an eraser on a pencil or a AAA battery. This can also be square or round, whatever you prefer for the tail. Make sure that the tail was parallel with the front of the popper. We took a center line from the top of the popper and we drew it all the way down our dowel rod section to the center line of our tail of our popper. We then took each side of where the intersecting ends were and we drew a line to both. This is the bottom of your popper. This is a keep out zone. You don't want to carve in this area, and this is where your bottom screws will go in. The easiest way to start carving is to use a utility knife like this, and to start with the top of the popper, which is going to be the largest part, and work to the tail. You can see here where we started some of our carving, getting closer to the surface or the circumference of that circle, and we'll just keep working that top down all the way down to our keep out zone around our popper. We have now completed the front part or the head of the popper, carving it all the way down, all the way around until we're down to where our circumference of our nickel was. Now we've got to begin carving the tail part, working down to the size of the tail. We now have a completed carved popper to start with. Now you can sand this if you want. I prefer not to sand it, as all these little grooves that made from your utility knife are like scales or different reflective surfaces. So I use it just like that, but it's your preference if you want it smooth. The next step is forming the front of the popper so that it pops water. What we want to do is the lower part here wants to be further set back than the top part to move that water and to pop it right back forward. So we're going to take a Dremel tool with a sand belt on it, and I'll show you that. We're going to sand here, starting in the center and working down until we get that lower lip behind the top. Here's the Dremel tool I like to use. Again, here's our little sand belt or a sand wheel. It's a coarse. This is what we're going to use to sand the front of the popper. So by sanding, we took our Dremel tool, we went about halfway up from the bottom of the popper, and we just made a groove going across the popper. You can see the groove here on both sides. Now we're going to work that groove, and we're going to work it down to level out the bottom of the popper and bringing it back away from the same plane as what the top of the popper is on. Alright, now we've completed our sanding. And all we did is we took that center groove and we just leveled out a little bit the bottom part of it. So you can see that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn our sander at a point, and we're going to hollow this out from the center out, giving us a small gap. Sanding this total front should only take you about 5 minutes at the most. Now we've finished hollowing out the front of our popper. Again, leaving the lower lip a little further back than the top of the lip. Using the Dremel tool, starting from the center, working out, and giving a little area for the water to pop. Now what we have to do is paint this. So how do we paint a popper? Well, if you're good at painting, you can buy lacquer paints and you can paint it up. The easiest thing I found, take a bunch of permanent markers that you have laying around the house. That's what I use. And some of these are even highlighters. And this is the easiest way I found. You don't have to let it dry. You can instantly go on. You're going to want to use a block of wood, one of your blocks that you'll use later for a popper, to experiment with what colors you want. So you can paint whatever colors you want. Now on this one, I don't have an orange one yet, so I'm going to use some orange. So what I like to do, first of all, using a highlighter, is I like to paint the inside of my popper and the tail of my popper. And I start with the eyes. I work from the bottom up. But you can do it any way you want and get whatever colors you want. I've used my permanent markers. I used a red for the top of my lip of my popper and for the tail. Now I'm going to color some eyes on it. I'm going to use black, and I'm going to trim it around with some gold. Using a black highlighter, I made the black part of my eyes. They don't have to be perfect, but just be approximate. I've now completed the eyes by taking a little bit of gold permanent marker and putting it around the eyes. So now I've got the red popper mouth, and I've got the eyes all set. Now I want to start with the bottom, and I'm going to use a highlighter, an orange one, to give me an orange bottom on this one. I've got many of these poppers that I've made, blues, greens, silvers, so I'm going to try an orange one here. I've now added the orange highlighter to the bottom. So now it's up to us what we want to add to the sides and stuff. So I'm going to color this one up, and I'll show you the final here. Now we have finished painting the sides of the popper. I added some green, light green, permanent marker black, and then a highlighter orange. You can use fluorescent colors, whatever you'd like. And you just touch this up a little bit. Now we paint the top, whatever color we want. We can go black, we can go blue, we can go dark green, we can even go red, like a popper mouth. We have our popper now completely painted. Whatever colors we want. Colors are up to you. Again, using permanent markers and highlighters, it's very easy to paint these poppers. All we got to do now is add the eye screws, then a split ring to hold on your hooks, and then your treble hooks. For screw eyes, we're going to use 3 of these. One for the nose, one for the tail, and one just in front of center so the hooks can't catch. We'll screw these in, and at that point you're ready to add your polyurethane or even a clear coat, and 1 or 2 coats, and you're ready to fish. The treble hooks, you're going to want a round bend treble hook, size 4. Again, 2 of those treble hooks, 3 of these screw eyes. Now we have started adding our screw eyes, 1 in the tail, 1 just about center, maybe a little bit north center. So the 2 treble hooks on the tail and the center can't catch each other, and you don't want the treble hook catching your leader or your line up here. And we've added 1 for the lip. Now all we got to do is finish screwing these in. Once you screw them in, do your varnishing, your polyurethane or your clear coat, and you're ready to go. Now we have the screw eyes all the way in. So what we want to do is add our little split rings right here that you can see to hold on to your treble hooks, and then your number 4 treble hooks. Like this one here, I put a little clear coat on. You could put a little bit of polyurethane high gloss, and you'll get that shine. And by not sanding it, each one of these surfaces here that you've carved, there's going to be all kinds of different reflective surfaces there. So that will help give it a little action for the fish. Colors are up to you, what you like. I know on my lake, the bass and the northerns, of course, like the orange, green, and the red. I like to use blues also, and golds and silvers.